Hello and welcome, everybody, to episode 35 of Last Week in Quantum. I'm your host, Bill Roth. This is the show where we review the week's news in the world of quantum and its impacts on the world of cybersecurity, AI, and more. And with us to discuss this week is, as always, Brandon Dennis, Director of Operations at QuSecure. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Bill.
And Dave Krauthamer, Co-Founder and CEO of QuSecure. Dave, welcome.
Thanks, Bill. How are you?
Hey, another great day to be me. What can I tell you?
Before we start on this exciting topic today, guys, I wanna announce that Bill is running for the board of directors of the Santa Clara San Jose Water District. So please, get out, support Bill with everything you got if you live in Santa Clara or San Jose. And that's the opener to this big day in quantum. Go ahead, Bill.
I'm honored. And folks, don't forget, electbillroth.com. Let's transition back to the fascinating world of quantum. So last week in quantum, a bunch of really interesting articles. And the sort of big blockbuster is the National Institute of Standards and Technology releases first three finalized post-quantum encryption standards. And I cannot emphasize how big a deal this is. There's also some news about DARPA inviting quantum computing firms to make proposals for a new benchmarking initiative. So let's get started by talking to our experts. So the NIST announcement, Brandon, give us some context on that.
Yes, sir. NIST has released a final set of encryption tools designed to withstand the attack of a quantum computer. These post-quantum encryption standards secure a wide range of electronic information, and NIST is encouraging NIST is encouraging computer system administrators to begin transitioning to the new standards as soon as possible. Dave, we have an industry. What are your highlights from the NIST announcement?
Obviously, I'm super excited. I've been doing this for a long time. Brandon was like our second employee, and we've been doing it for years. And, people literally thought we were nuts. Why are you working in the quantum field? There is no there. I had really smart people telling me this is never going to happen. Nothing is going to happen in this field. And for a long time, we were just out there on the limb, just working on something that we were having fun. I mean, this really hits every one of my nerdy tendencies, and it has since the beginning. It's really exciting. But it was a haul. NIST has been working on this for 7 years, better math for 7 years, right? And there have been a lot of times when it was like, are they going to announce? Are they going to announce 10 years from now? The fundamental problem is RSA is a prime number factor. It's prime number factor, right? And conventional computers, really hard time. So for NIST to come up with these new standards that are quantum resilient and actually certify them. So they are the standard now. This is the standard. So every node in your network, every electronic device that uses encryption, this is now the standard. So we've been waiting for a long, long time. And I've been talking to people for years about post-quantum and network security. And people have been super interested. We're doing a ton of pilots. We've had some actually good proto rollouts. But last week, what happened is now the phone is ringing off the hook. And people were like, okay, now let's go do a deployment. So I got to tell you guys, it feels good. It feels good to be. I've never been in a market. I built a number of companies. I've never been in a market where the market wasn't really there. It wasn't a market until QuSecure. Now, the good news is it gave us a lot of time to build a world-class product. And, we have been super product focused. Frost and Sullivan said we were, the global leader in post-quantum orchestration. We function at the network layer. So we've got a lot of opportunity to work on this super complex problem of how I get crypto and algo and keys and policy and visibility and zero trust to every endpoint in the network. And it's a hard problem. And we chose the network layer solution. So we are a network solution. A lot of people chose using SDKs to update all their code. Well, I was a CIO and I had thousands of programs. And so some people were like, oh, we'll just update the source code. But no, that's not the solution. The solution is updating your code with crypto is a nightmare. The solution is having a network element. So we're off to the races now. I mean, this is a new beginning, and it's a new beginning for a number of reasons. That one, we have a lot of flaws in how the network's rolled out. I was talking to someone who is material in developing the standard for TLS and SSL. They were saying, this mess was kind of created a long, long time ago because there was not an anticipation that the network would grow like it is. And so we've got a number of problems we have to fix. So when we talk about post-quantum, we're talking about a piece of it, but we also have to factor in zero trust, policy, endpoint visibility, crypto agility, and then analysis of attack vectors at the endpoints and identity. So this is really about the broader things of how do I guarantee Bill is Bill and Brandon is Brandon? What do I do from a network perspective to make sure that there's a level of trust in this network that guarantees your use, so you're not constantly worried that your data, your identity is going to be stolen? We know that PKI certificates, a lot of these are good up to 30 years. And if they steal your root certificate, they're you'll never know. And so we have this, control plane visibility where we can detect what's going on. Now, just a little kind of texture to it. Right now, we use PKI, and PKI is very vulnerable now. So QSecure has a kind of different layers of the solution. We have a network layer that works with core routers, a core layer, a network layer that works server to server, a web layer that works on the web, and then an SDK layer. We're also adding what's called a post-quantum PKI, hybrid PKI. So under our orchestrator, in the near term, you'll be able to then administer all devices, all elements, whether it's an IoT device where you have low CPU, or a massive server, or a massive router, or a satellite, or a cell phone. We've rolled out post-quantum 5G with a large telco in pilot mode. And we've got a lot of stuff going on in telco, in pharma, in energy, and stuff like that. So now is the time we reset the foundation of all communications and networking. This is it. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, and it's super important because I think I want to reinforce something else, especially as we mentioned at the top, I'm really concerned about critical infrastructure like water systems and how do we keep them safe. This underscores the nature of the threat. While this is good move in that, yes, we have an industry. Yes, there's now standardization helping out with this, and that's actually the sign of solid market development. The threat is still real. How do we confirm identity? How do we confirm authorization? How do we confirm authentication? And so this is part of the step of maturing. We saw it. I saw it back in the old days with the evolution of Java standards, with the evolution of other types of standards. This is an important critical step for the development of the market, but let's not forget the threat is still real, and this stuff is necessary for business security, for national security.
Absolutely. Bill talked about water. We're working with a really cool company called Genesis Water Systems that has a box that pulls water out of the air. So they can do like 100 gallons. It's a magical device, and we're helping post-quantum secure, the water system, which is one of the key targets. So when and if we see a quantum attack, they're going to go after financial gateways, banks, our power systems, our infrastructure, our water first. And so securing these is a now thing. That's also, said that one foreign government has 25% of the global encrypted data already. So as an ex-CIO, we've got to be aware that this data is being sucked out of our systems right now. And if it's got PII in it, that they're going to crack it. And every day you go without doing an upgrade to this stuff is a day you're just letting your data leak out the door.
Oh, and the potential threat and the potential dangers are real. One of the things why I like kind of the water areas is pretty obvious, because every dam in California has to have what's known as an inundation map, which is what happens if the dam breaks. And so imagine that a foreign power gets into the control system, the SCADA system, opens up all the floodgates. Well, in my old neighborhood down in San Jose, that means you got 10 feet of water down Almaden Expressway. And so the threat is real, and we're talking about real world. This is not just getting your credit card stolen. This is having your neighborhood flood. So this is an important development.
Yeah, and guys, I've personally seen SCADA systems, like the control systems in dams, hacked. I've seen it's scary. I think we know there's a big threat out there, but there's a direct threat to all these devices that control everything around us. And as Bill mentioned, flood a city, these are things that have deep, deep, deep potential impact on us. Now, that's the scary side. The good side is we can create a future that's a safer future. It's up to us right now. We have that opportunity to create what's next and create a better future, which we all want, right? So we're on an arc, and the arc we're going to take is creating a better, safer future for everyone. So we don't need to worry about this on a daily, minute-by-minute basis. And that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That it's a great announcement. It's, I think, a step change in the seriousness that I think is going to be afforded the quantum encryption, quantum security kind of markets. Hey, folks, quick reminder, you can find the links to all the articles mentioned today in the show notes. If you want weekly quantum updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel, podcasts on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find great podcasts. Stay up to date with the news in quantum with Last Week in Quantum. Our next article is about the DARPA inviting quantum computing firms to propose new benchmarks. So, Brandon, give us the context.
So we have an article here about DARPA. They're hosting a Proposers Day. This is designed to introduce the research and development community to the QBI program's vision and goals, outline the mechanisms and milestones of forthcoming solicitations, and really provide a platform for attendees to ask questions. So we touched on it on the last article, but kind of want to dive in deeper here. Dave, why do you think DARPA, why do you think U.S. government is showing such interest in quantum?
Yeah, the government, I think there was just recently $7.2 billion in funding. We literally last month won 2 material contracts with the Air Force and Army. And there's definitely a heavy focus on this right now. And for obvious reasons. I mean, there's the sensing market, there's the computing market, and then there's the post-quantum upgrade, which everyone has a mandate to do and do quickly. So I think the DARPA element of it is on the quantum computing side. And, there's a ton of noise out there. And I think we've talked about this before, but really this fundamentally boils down to the number of logical qubits that we can generate. And that's generally a factor of the error rates. So right now, there's a huge discussion, a lot of R&D on how do I optimize the error rate associated with these qubits. DARPA has taken somewhat of I don't want to call it pessimistic view, but very guarded view on our opportunity to get there. We don't have time to get into it in great detail, but remember on the post-quantum side, it's just a math problem we haven't been able to solve. Some teenager in high school is going to come up with a formula or mechanism, a quantum algorithm to crack it. And the number of qubits is, I'm optimistic because it is a noise problem. And we've been through this before. We've been through the noise problems before. That was the beginning of quantum computers and of conventional computers. So I think DARPA is very focused on the community at large, very focused on how do we get there in a reasonable amount of time. And this stuff's moving a lot faster than anyone thought. You see projections that are 10 or 15 years. You see projections that are 1 year. You see projections that are now. But I think like any big breakthrough, people don't really know. But at any point in time, you could see a breakthrough in error correction. And I personally think we're going to see that. I think we might have already seen it, but we just don't know about it because the governments are guarding it. So like I said in the past, if you own this technology, you own the world. And the U.S., let's go get them.
Yeah. So what strikes me about this is similar to what I mentioned in the last one. So I'm been in the industry long enough to see 3, 4, 5 technological trends sort of start and complete. So if you look at, for example, the database industry, which goes way back, what did you first see? Well, first you saw in the first article, you saw standardization, like the standardization around SQL, structured query language. Then what did you see? You saw the Wisconsin benchmark come out. And all of these were ways to help consumers, the consumers of the technology understand. And what I'm getting good? Is it playing well with others, A, and B, do I have a meaningful way of measuring it? So I think this is just another sort of footstep in the sand that talks about the development of this, but more appropriately, how far along we are to actually developing real solutions for serious threats. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's all for today's show. I'm your host, Bill Roth, and with us this week, of course, has been Brandon Dennis, Director of Operations, and Dave Krauthamer, co-founder and CEO of QSecure. Thank you to you both.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
We'll see you next week on Last Week in Quantum.